Oh, yeah. What's going on, everybody? How's it going? We're here again. It's Thursday, January 20th, the third episode of 2022. We're back again. How y'all doing? What are we looking for here? We're looking for... I don't know what we're looking for. All right. Here we are. We're here again. It's Thursday night. OnoCoffee's, OnoLive's, Coffee and Cigars. We're back again, and I'm your host for another night of coffee and cigars. So we're here again. It's like I said, it's the 20th, and the weather is kind of chilly, but not as chilly as it was earlier. It was a bit mild yesterday. I don't know if you were having that in where you are in the world, but yesterday here in Baltimore, we got up to like 50. Like I didn't have to wear a heavy jacket. That was kind of surprising. I should have wore a heavy jacket when I went home, but at least when I was out during the middle of the day, I didn't have to wear such a heavy jacket. So how y'all doing tonight? Where are you? What are you drinking? What are you smoking? Let me know. Drop them in the comments below. Thank you for tuning in. We've got a really interesting stuff to talk about tonight here on the live stream. First off, we're going to be making, as always, make coffee. And the first coffee we have tonight is from a place called Grandmother Coffee in Dubai. And Grandmother is this this coffee roastery that that I've known the owner. Well, I knew one of the owners before, but here, wrong one. What are we doing there? And anyway, whatever, it doesn't really matter. So I went to visit Grandmother Roastery when I was there in Dubai this past trip. Hung out with Freddie, their head roaster, and he kind of, showed me around and told me a lot about his philosophies and what they do. Really interesting roastery, really interesting guy. Like Freddie's really an interesting person. I really hadn't met him before my visit. I think we met in passing. He's from Uganda, so he kind of knows, my involvement with the Uganda Coffee Development Authority. So, but it was really great to hang out with him. A really interesting guy, young guy doing interesting things, a lot of passion. And so I got this coffee. This is the Ethiopia, the Uraga Tella. It's what they call a supernatural. And, there's a whole process behind the supernatural. And I totally have forgotten about those details in the month or so since I was there. The nice thing is I did record a lot of video for it, so I will be working on a video at some point in the future about my visit there, and I'll really get into it. Rusty says, "What's going on, Rusty? How are you, man? Just brewed a La Pastora Costa Rica from Methodical Coffee." Ooh, Methodical Coffee. I'm not familiar with Methodical Coffee. Let's see, Methodical Coffee. Oh, down in Greenville. Okay. Let's have a look. So the La Pastora, Costa Rica. Oh, how about collaborations, limited release, single origin? Is that what that is? Oh, that's very pretty. Their bags. I'm looking for Costa Rica. Tira Natural. What are we looking at here? What is it? They got a lot of coffees. Good Lord. Colombia Tio Conejo. Oh, here, La Pastora. Oh, nice. Nice. Almond, ginger snap, plum, washed coffee, Katura Katuai from the Tarasu. Nice. So it was good. It was good. Yeah. All right. Excellent. And then Tony says, I just poured my Major Melon Diet Mountain Dew. Oh, nice. Excellent. So as you can see, I've got this new angle. I don't know if I really like it. I think it's a little bit too low. Like I'd like to have it right about there. But we're going to try it today and see how it turns out. So the grandmother, let's go to the grandmother, and we'll get right into that. Now, the grandmother is like I said, it's a roastery out in Dubai. And Buddy's drinking Zeke's. Excellent choice. Excellent choice. The choice of champions here in Baltimore. And we are, here we are, the grandmothers, Ethiopia Ragatella. This one is their, oops, wrong one. AED, so dirham, 95 dirham, which means that it's about $26 or so. They don't really put much information on their website. I wish they did. It'd be nice to know a little bit more. They do print some detail on here. Like here, they'll tell you it's a heirloom varietal from Ethiopia, which means that no one really knows what they're just a whole bunch of them out there. 1,700 to 2,000 meters. It's probably with that much separation in altitude, it's probably a co-op. So there's probably a lot of farmers that are giving, in most places in Ethiopia are really, really small farm holders. So they're selling their lots. Typically there may be a hectare or so. And so they're harvesting their coffees and then sending them into a central processing place. And that's usually how these, I'm not familiar with Uraga. And it could be Uraga is the wet mill, and the Tella could be the name of their working group. So sometimes farmers will get together in working groups and cooperate that way. So it's just a little bit different that way. Color and brightness look a lot better tonight. Oh, thanks. Yeah. It's a little bit different. Like you can see kind of, I don't know how well the resolution is out there, but you see this kind of like light, these almost like little columns of light. There's almost four of them. That's because the camera's now tilted a little more so that the illumination that I'm getting is showing more through. I noticed that when I was setting up. I was like, oh, it looks all right. This angle's good because not focusing on the light behind you. Yeah, that's nice. That's part of the reason why I've been trying to figure out a better way. Like the other one flies above the monitors. This I'm kind of setting between the monitors because I'm using two. No, just kidding. It's all right, bud. I get it. Loyalty is not important to you. I understand. It also is a focus is better. Yeah. So the nice thing is that since it's isolated, it helps a lot more. And it's slightly closer. It's probably like 3 inches closer, right? So instead of me having to hold it up here and fight with it, it's a little bit closer. And I did work on some of the settings with the camera to set like we kind of did last week when Alan came on, to set this focus in the center of the sensor. So anyway, what are we doing? Well, we're making coffee. So one of the things that I got when I was also in Dubai, so a good friend of mine, Gautam, owns a company called something grounds. What is it called? I can't remember the name of it. Sorry, Gautam. But anyway, a good friend of mine, and what he does, he sells a lot of coffee brewing accessories, and he's pretty much the guy in the Middle East to buy coffee supplies from. So I was hanging out with him the first night that I was there, and I was like, hey man, can I get one of these? And I told him I would like to buy it, right? Like I don't want to go to my friend's shop and be like, hey man, can I take a bunch of stuff? And I got this. So he was like, no, man. I said, can I pay you for it? He's like, yeah, I'll bill you tomorrow. I was like, God, crazy. All right, well, thank you very much. So this is what's called the Cigarist. The Cigarist is what they say, fast specialty coffee filter, right? So these filters are like 20, I think these are like $1 a piece. They're pretty expensive when it comes to coffee filters, especially when you can go to Costco and buy them for like $400 pieces for a Melita number 4 filter for like maybe $4 or $5. So at $25 for 20, it's pretty expensive, right? And so actually, I'll get their website up here so we can see. All right, this is it. Reinvent your recipes and achieve new flavors. So I've been really interested to see what they have. This is what they call a fast specialty coffee filter, which I don't really understand why you want to go faster. Like maybe Rusty, maybe somebody else down here will know, have an idea of why you want to go faster. I don't necessarily want to go faster. The fastest filter, the fast specialty coffee filter, is the filter with the most permeability, providing a greater filtering speed and therefore achieving faster and better flowing extractions. Do I want a faster extraction? That's really the question I have. Do I want a faster extraction? Typically in coffee, extraction is a part of exposure time of the water to the coffee, right? So in pressurized environments, so let's say like the AeroPress or espresso machines, those are pressurized environments. So we're actually pressurizing the water, punching it through the coffee, and that's why they're faster extractions, 30 seconds or right around there, 30 seconds to a minute or whatever it is. But here, it's just gravity. I'm not sure why you want to go faster. Well, leave it to Buddy to give us the lowdown. Yeah, that's for sure. Low and slow, baby. Low and slow. Yeah, exactly. Like, do you want to take barbecue and like make it faster? Right? Do you want your brisket to cook in 10 hours instead of 16? I don't think so. I don't think so. Anyway, so we're gonna have a look at it. We don't want to be too prejudiced about it, right? So the filter is actually really nice. Oh, let me get closer. Let me get back to this. So here it is. This is the filter, right? It may not look so much like it's on camera, but it's really smooth. It is very smooth and almost silky. And like here, this is where the seam is, right? And the seam is super clean. Like, I should grab the. Like here is a typical filter from Wegmans. Right? I'll use these because they're all they're all pretty much the same. And so here is the Wegmans filter. So as you can see, like even here now that focus is in, you can see that you can see the difference between the way the texture, right? Here's the seam again. The seam's over here. Put the seams together. Look at that. You can't really see the seam. So the seam quality is around. The paper quality feels it feels nice. Like this feels like paper coffee filter, kind of stiff, This feel, actually, the tactile feel is really quite alluring. All right, so, and it's nice conical, so it fits well into a conical filter. Now, because there is a seam, you still have to fold it over somehow. A student asked, if we bake it 350 for 3 minutes, can we bake it at 550 for 10 just to go faster? No, you cannot. I have tried that, by the way. Actually, the interesting thing is, like, I've been watching this guy. He's a YouTuber. Really, really beautiful work. Like his videos are super well produced. Much more well produced than mine. He's a guy by the name, he goes by the Wood-Fired Oven Chef. Some guy in California. He's got a lot of money. He's got this beautiful house somewhere on the coast. And will it make a better COVID mask? Probably. It'll at least feel better. Nicer on the skin for sure. And but he's ever since I saw him and he was like working his wood-fired oven, I've been kind of mimicking that with my little oven, like just cranking it up to 500 and just kind of playing around with it. It doesn't work too well. It works pretty well. Actually, I can't say it doesn't work too well. Anyway, let's not get too. It's like squirrel. All right, so let's get our brewing devices together. Still need to use a riser with this, but maybe another riser. That's better. Yeah. That'll work. All right, so we've got our Hario V60. I'm gonna put this in here. Now I didn't really make any adjustments to it, to the grind for the coffee. So here's the grind. Here's the coffee. Right. Not enough light there. Now the aroma, man, is really nice. It's really pretty. It's really fragrant and very kind of berry fruity-ish. What's up, Mark? Good to see you. How's everything going? We are making the, what is it called? We are making the Ethiopia Uragatella, whoops, from Grandmother Roasters in Dubai. Can't remember. All right. Oh, Yasmina, how are you? Thanks. I'm trying a different camera position. All right, so there it is. We've got the V60, 24 grams. We're going to put 350 grams into this V60 and then down into the Yama pot here. So what is this Sybaris supposed to be doing? It's supposed to, they give it this whole spiel of reinvent recipes and discover new flavors. Now, filters infusion variable that you cannot change, which affects the others, and therefore, to a great extent, the filtering speed, which will determine other variables. The greater filtering speed provided by the fast allows you to modify the recipes with values which slower filters do not permit, such as using finer and therefore more uniform grinding, using more shorter pours, or different quantities of coffee. They aim to exceed in extracting the desired flavors from each. So here's the question, right? So Yasmina, now that you're here, you're a new generation of barista. Why do we want to go faster? Like I noticed that I've noticed that when I was traveling that there's a lot of people that want to do like 2.5 minute brews. So this is designed to go faster. Now here it talks about going faster, but going finer. So if you're at a grind setting with a regular filter and you are and you're pouring it, right? And then you go to a faster, a more coarse paper filter, but you find down the grind, aren't you kind of going to the same point, or theoretically, right? So that's my question. So you're a newer generation, you're in touch more with the new generation of breeds. So why do people want to go here, or why do they think they want to go with faster brews? That's what I'm curious to know. Your take on it. Yeah, the coffee's actually really, really attractive. Freddie did a very nice job. I know if we're going to have a way to like send that out, that'd be revolutionary. Maybe Elon Musk will work with us on that. Oh no, I forgot the water. All right, here's the water. Let us also, we're going to use the timer also to see what we can do about, well, we're just going to see how fast it goes. I don't really know how I'm supposed to do this. I mean, it's the nice thing is that I'm going to be doing this for a review video later. So this will be the first one. All right, let's begin. So I'm pouring in. Oh, it's flowing super fast. I'm pouring it in so that I can at least saturate the grinds, right? Allow for blooming now. Ooh. There's like this really interesting, almost like cinnamon bun kind of character to that nose. Ooh. So Mark's asking long bloom. I don't know if you can do a long bloom when it's designed to go fast, right? I don't. What is he saying? The fast fine emphasizes the duty-free and avoids bitter strain. Oh, and you've been playing with a lot of like newer brew recipes, right, Mark? So would you if you were using a faster filter, would you go with a finer grind? Because doesn't that kind of balance it out? And Yasmin says, honestly, I'm still learning about these new filters too, but the only thing that comes to mind is faster brew time. I mean, that's what I would think. Like Intelligentsia used to go for like 1.5 minute brews, and they would run and gun it by using 44 grams of coffee in order to make a 12-ounce cup, when they were doing the pour overs back, 10, 15 years ago. Should you bake at 350 or 30 minutes? Oh, I know, exactly. Does this work like an equivalent exposure? I wish I understand. I don't even understand what I'm doing really with this filter. Like, what am I supposed to do? Right now we're at 2 minutes. Let's see. Let's put this over here so you can see the volume of the brewing. So we need to go to like 350. So we still have a while to go with this thing. But does fast brew equal under extraction? Typically, right? Yes, finer, but if it's going too fast, I would pour slow. I've been landing the final brew around 230 to 3 minutes, about 700-ish microns. Are you also using this filter, Mark, or are you using, what filters are you using? But I think the fast idea is to go, the fast flow also means to go fast in time, right? Which is why we compensate with the finer grind size. Yeah, I mean, but again, that's why that to me is, I mean, and that's what I was thinking earlier. But when I was grinding this coffee, I was like, should I change the grind and go finer? But then, am I still targeting a 3.5 to 4? I mean, we're at 3 minutes now, so it's not like we're not doing much of anything that's different. Like we're actually kind of behind the curve. Look at 300 now. I mean, it's flowing faster, I guess. I should do head to head. Just to clarify, is the filter for a specific brewer? I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's meant to be, let's say, what do they say? The fast was created. The objective was to achieve the best possible paper quality to guarantee the minimum impact on the drink. Fast specialty coffee filters are therefore 100% organic fibers from controlled plantations, made in Barcelona to be guaranteed the informal trace, blah, 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 blah. Focus all the efforts on the manufacturing of high quality paper filter, which it is. It's very high quality. It feels very, very for lack of a better term, feels very sexy. All right, so we're still short and we're now at 4 minutes. This is not faster. And I didn't really change the grind size from what I would normally have used for this type of thing. It does not say if it's for any particular type of what do you call it? So Mark says he's not using this filter, but sometimes the Stag X goes fast. However, Ethiopians produce a lot of fines and clog a little. Well, if it is, it's not. So we're like at 441. We're just finishing now, 441. So let's say we're done now, 441. We have more or less 350 grams. Oh, we should look at the condition of, I don't know if that tells us anything. I mean, it still feels nice. Like it's a nice quality paper. And it should be if you're paying $1 for each filter, more or less, right? Oh, what is the price? Let's look at the price on their website. Let's go to buy. So we couldn't buy that. Okay, here it is. 12 euros to 35 euros. All right, so size 2, let's say 25, or let's do 100. So 100. Am I thinking this is right? Is it 35 cents or is it 350? Yeah, 35 cents. 35 cent euros. Oh, so maybe it's not terribly expensive, right? So 0.35 euro. No. Let's say 35. It was 35. Let's say 35. Just say 35. I don't know why I'm doing it. I don't know why I'm doing it the hard way. Oh, so yeah, $40. So $40. So 40 cents a piece. Actually, that's not. I had heard there was a lot more expensive. That's not terrible. That's not terrible. But that could be worth your extra effort, I think. That's not a terrible price. But he asked, what about adding more coffee to water? You could change the ratio of the coffee and the water. That certainly is possible. I don't know if it really changes the way it brews. Well, we should try. Right. All right, let's try this coffee now. Oh, it's got this nice brightness, that light astringency. Like, so in the dry fragrance of the coffee itself, it has a lot more fruity cherry kind of notes to it. This one, in the aroma of the brewed liquid, it does not. Oh. Well, initially, there's this big. Okay. I think we're back. Sorry about that. It's just the Sopranos ending. You're right. Did Tony make it? I'd like to think that he did. I like the idea of. No, actually, so what happened is that I don't know. Suddenly the computer freaked out and just shut off. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I had to go. I was trying to get it to restart, and then it wouldn't restart right away. So I had to go back and grab my laptop. Almost had it logged in, and then the computer came back up, and we were able to start again, and so we are good to go now. All right, we're back again. That was a little bit craziness. My apologies. Yeah. Seems a little bit slower. Was this a little bit slower? A steering contest. We could. Was I actually frozen on an image, or did it go black? I'm interested to know. Yeah. We'll ask him. Maybe we don't want to buy them again. Oh my, exactly. Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, it wasn't. So the coffee. Let's go back to the coffee. I was just saying that the coffee was here, and that's the one. This is the one thing. This is the one thing that didn't die was the camera. The camera was still rock and rolling. Rock and rolling. Okay, so it did both froze and then went to black. Oh, okay. The ticker still. So here's why, right? So for example, I'm using this service here, StreamYard, right? And StreamYard is the broadcasting service. So I log into StreamYard, and unlike other ways of doing it, where you could do where a lot more of the processing of the live stream is handled by your computer, this service actually it's all server based. So everything goes to the server, and so I'm just sending a stream. And so in situations like this, if I get kicked off for some reason, it'll continue to roll. And I don't really know I don't know if it'll stop. Like if I was to lose, like let's say I was here and like there was let's say Godzilla came by and just wiped out this town. Like we're just talking, we're drinking coffee and suddenly like, I don't know if it would ever stop. Like maybe it'll just continue on going for who knows when. All right. So back to our Tella from Ethiopia. Like of course I'm gonna drink this otherwise, but like I said, there's some bitterness here, and it's not starting out very pleasant. The audio makes it look like a kung fu movie. It's not in sync. Okay, hang on. Let's see here. Can we do something to bring the sync back? What if I was to jump back on? How's it doing now? Are we still out of sync, or are we in sync again? Actually, let me see if I can listen to that. No, it looks like at least on my end of the other feed, it looks like it's back in sync. Okay, good. Oh, good. Yeah, Yasmin says it's all good. And Ty says, hey, Ty, what's going on? Synced. Brian says synced as well. Okay, good. My buddy Alan, who runs a channel called Sound Speeds, who was on here last week, he came on as well in the audience. He does very long live streams, and he runs easily sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. And he was telling me that he also uses StreamYard, or has been, and he'll start to lose a few frames of sync after about 3 hours on the stream. This might be the solution. If you click off and on, then that might be the case. That might be the case to work with, because I want it that way. Oh, I was thinking yesterday about doing a karaoke channel. Maybe I should just do karaoke live. All right, that's enough of this. We're gonna move from the coffee to our cigar of the evening. From Tobacco Leaf, it does look better, doesn't it? The image quality is looking nicer. And so today's cigar, did I say coffee? Anyway, today's cigar is the Oliva Series V. Okay, here's where we might have a little bit of problem with this camera setup, is that we might need a little more light in the center. Does that make it worse, or is that better? So here's the Oliva V Perfecto 135th anniversary. I didn't even know they'd been around for that long. Would you attribute that bitterness to over extraction or the coffee? That's the thing I don't know. I mean, this is I just opened the bag. This is my first time drinking the coffee. So I really don't know. I wouldn't be comfortable saying either way. Because we got so many, it's new coffee plus new filter and not necessarily the way we would normally brew it. So too many variables to really say which one it could be, or it would have to be. So I'm going to take this. Oh, look at that. It's cracking a little bit right there. Right there. See, that looks like it. There's a little bit of crack right there. That's a little bit disappointing. Rusty says you got to bring back the Friday night 80s dance party. That would be so much fun. The problem is there's just so much copyright problems to work out. That's the only reason that we stopped. It's like, so Tony says they've been in tobacco that long, but not cigars. Yes. Okay, got it. Perfect. Now we're going to get our smoke on. So it looks pretty nice, right? It looks like a nice cigar. Perfecto shape, like what was it, last week's cigar? I think it was, had a very silky kind of sexy kind of texture to the wrapper. Or was that the week before? Anyway, this doesn't quite have the same effect, but it feels not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad. There's not too much aromatics coming off it, just really light, kind of maybe a light manure, maybe I would just be throwing stuff in the air for that. So Xikar MTX as always. This is the Oliva Serie V 135th anniversary. And since it's the 135th anniversary of Oliva, we'll use the really fancy matches from Davidoff. Ours in Gnomesville are perfect. No cracks. Are you guys all smoking this cigar tonight? That'll be awesome. It'll be awesome, man. It'll be awesome. I'm interested to know what you guys think. It's a cold draw. Oh, we should be making our scoring. So I would say that the so many drawers here. All right, so I would say the fragrance, kind of medium to low, cold draw. What if I was to pull? Maybe I can pull that up here, Book. Do this. There we go. That's better. All right. So Bud says the one you have looks a little rough. Dave Tonier is smoking these. Also my third. This is your third one of these? Oh, you're all like fanciness there. My gosh. All right. Right on. So let's see, cold draw. There's some sweetness, but it's relatively low for me. All right, let's do some lighting. We are predicting a rating of 90 to 91. All right, we're gonna see. Actually, speaking of ratings, I've decided that, I've always kind of held back on featuring Roma Craft because, you know, there's an inherent bias on my part for them, right? So, but I thought that, you know, since I always talk about them, and since now we've worked out this scoring system, why I should include the Revenge as part of that ranking. So sometime in the future, I will. Brian was very kind enough to order me some Revenges, and they just came in. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. And I'll get you some of that delicious cash shortly. And so I had one last night while I was watching Boba Fett, and it's a little bit dry. It's a little bit dry because you can tell as you're smoking it, the burn is a little bit hot because it's not as hydrated. So I'm gonna put those in the humidor, let those chill for like a couple months, and then come back to it. Well, at least one of the boxes. It's unlikely that they'll sit there for a couple months. All right, let's see here. So, Bud, if you, Tony, Dave are smoking these, what are your thoughts? Oh, the initial light is kind of pleasant. Maybe a little bit of like pine. A little pine. Yasmina says, thanks for answering my coffee cues. Going to head out. Oh, all right. Have a great one. A little in the weather this week, so I'm going to crash soon. All right. Well, good night. Thank you very much for tuning in. Of course, anytime. Happy to answer questions or talk anything coffee. It's coffee and cigars, so we're doing all of it all at once as we wish. But if you get the chance, because since you're up in New York, you're always going around. What is it? Ask your friends, like, why do you want to go faster? Like, and what's the purpose of going faster? I'm curious to know about that kind of thing. All right, and then otherwise, some of the other guys on today's Instagram live stream, they were talking about that we should have a meetup up in New York City at some point in time. So we might do that in the sometime future. Yeah. So there it is. All right. Well, have a good night. Take care. Hope you feel better. George says, "What's up, George? How are you? Evening all, braving the cold on the balcony. Nice, excellent. With the Bellas Art and Maduro all bundled up. I feel like an idiot, but that's not a problem. We do that all the time. That's as long as you're bundled up well and you're not freezing too much, all is good. All is good." So Tony says the first stir is burning well, great flavor, nice amount of smoke. Yeah, as you can see, the smoke production is quite nice. It's very pleasant so far on the outset. My first few puffs, nice flavor. I agree with that. Ryan says, "Isn't Yasmin the only woman on this podcast?" Yes. So invite more women to come and join us. I've been doing a lot more live streaming too lately. Oh, well, I don't know. I wouldn't say a lot more, but I've been doing it a bit more. Like the last couple times I've done it, most of the ones I'm doing impromptu are on Instagram. And so I'm just kind of like deciding at the last moment, oh, I should do this. So it's all been food on the OnoCoffee 4 Instagram account. And so basically the first one that I did last week was about making gravlax. So you're taking salmon, right? It's a salmon loin, a mixture of salt and sugar, and just kind of coating it and letting it, basically you just let it sit there like that. I'm compressing it with a brick and then also allowing the oils and liquid to come out. But, that took like a good 4 or 5 days. And yesterday we did I was watching, I don't know if you guys see this here on YouTube. There's this couple that does Italian recipes called Pasta Grammar. And this girl, Ava, who's from Italy, and her husband, Harper, who's from Maine, they do these videos, and they're pretty funny. They're pretty interesting. And actually, they do a lot of really interesting Italian dishes. And so I've made a couple of them from their show. And so yesterday morning, I was sitting around watching or scrolling through YouTube, and their video came out. They just released it yesterday morning, and I saw it. And it was about this orange cake, pan de arancio, which is evidently a Sicilian dish. And so I've got these great oranges from Aldi that are like super beautiful flavor. So I made it and I did the live stream about that. And then today's live stream, I was making tortilla de española from Spain. So, you know, I don't know what we do. Maybe we'll do more of that. Rusty says, almost as much smoke as before. Almost. George, I'm so glad you remember that. Is this the 1 year anniversary of the famous hot tub show from Wisp? I think actually it's next week because I think it was on the 28th that we did it. It was the very end of the month. Man, that's some of the coldest I've ever been. Like I was all ready to go for it, and it was fantastic. It was actually from what's it? Deep Creek, not Wisp, Deep Creek. So nearby to Wisp, but the house was interesting. Like it was right on the on the lake. Really pretty location, and you know it was snowing, so there was a lot of snow, and it was bitterly cold. And but I was able. They had a big fire pit, and I was able to build epic fires, like 6 foot like stacks of maybe 5 foot stacks of wood, and just like enough so that I could. One night I lit the fire like at 4 o'clock. I built it and lit it like maybe 4:30. And I came back at like 7:30 after we had dinner, and it had just gotten to the bottom of it. I was like, yeah, that's what I want to be. All I could think was exactly. Man, that was crazy. That was crazy. That was a good one. That was a good one, though. That was a good one. I could only take it for 30 minutes. Like I think it was like 15 below. I was trying to get the women to come join us, but alas, I don't have that kind of pull. Yeah, you know. But yeah, right now, nice flavor, like really enjoyable. Good complexity. What flavors would you say are there? Definitely tobacco. Maybe some coffee. The thing is, do you have a place for us to hang out? Is the deck done? We need to have space. This is now that we're getting past the point and it's getting wider, it's starting to come alive. Rusty says, side note, here's an idea for YouTube video, documentary on going to Tobacco Leaf and how you pick up the upcoming cigars with Row. Oh, that we can do. All right, next time I do it, I'll try to remember to make that. Earthy leather. Yeah, I totally can see that. Totally earthy leather. Especially in at least the first store that I'm on, definitely really strong leather qualities on this. You know, I was kind of skeptical about this one, the 135th anniversary Oliva. Like I know Brian's really into a particular part of the Oliva V Lanceros. But sometimes I wonder, like a lot of these, like, are they a little bit more hype than anything else? But and Buddy says, caution to anyone who buys the cigar featured tonight. If you buy a box, immediately open up the box and pull out the styrofoam. They glued it to a piece of cedar. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why that is. Let's see if we can find that. So you guys bought a box? All right, here is All right, here is the box. So is this styrofoam? No, that doesn't look like styrofoam. That looks like wood. Where do they put the styro? Is it underneath the cigars? All right, let's see here. Well, now that we've got it open, we might as well talk about it. So it's a Perfecto shape, 5.5 by 54, medium to full bodied, Ecuadorian sun-grown Habano, Nicaraguan binder and filler. It's supposed to be a Colorado Claro wrapper. Oh, I should look at that in here. Maybe right about there. Hand-rolled long filler. God, I hope so. Uh-oh. Where's my... So Bud says sits on top of the cigars and then... Oh, I see. So it actually wedges the cigars down in between the top of the lid. Okay, got it. All right. Yeah, so if you're watching this and you happen to be buying a box, like Bud says, listen to Uncle Bud. Open the box, remove the styro. Do you think the styro will react with the tobacco over the long term? I'm not even familiar with if that's a problem. If that's really a major concern. But Brian says that Oliva V has changed, man. You've changed, man. I've only so it's no longer what it was. What a shame. What a shame. I know you've always struggled finding more. Then Tony says the foam was to prevent the feet from cracking because they are not in cellophane. Oh, okay. Yeah. There's that little crack that I reported on the wrapper. You can kind of see it right now here, right? But happily, it has not interfered with the smoke of the cigar. Tony says the smoking room is open and the deck is 2/3 operational. So plenty of cooks. Okay, good, because I'm not in the mood for falling through decks. I hope you screwed some of it down. Yes. And Rusty wants to know, Tony, do you have electric smoker? Or are you guys going to camp out of the deck to keep the fire going? He's got a pellet smoker, so a little bit of electric, but fired by pellets. Can't smoke the glue, and there is a glue odor. Oh, because of the styrofoam has the glue odor. Okay. Now, I'm not saying to keep it, though. I don't know why you want to keep that. It'd be crazy. All right, so it's smoking pretty well. I think the nice thing about having the camera at this position is that I can hold the cigar like this. Instead of it would normally fall out of frame because the camera would be like 7 inches higher. So we're rolling through the first. I think I'm smoking too fast. Look at this. You can see that the burn is uneven. I think I need to slow down. I'm actually enjoying. If I'm going fast, it's usually because I'm enjoying the cigar. So George, how you doing out there in the cold? Doing all right? What do you got drinking on there? Anybody else drinking anything interesting? Speaking of drinking, let's have more of our coffee. The coffee is from Grandmother Roasters in Dubai, Middle East, United Arab Emirates. And a guy named Freddie is the roaster there, and he does a real nice job roasting. It's an interesting coffee that light and bright, and it's hard to really say whether or not that's truly the character that it should be. Mainly because I was using this thing called the Sybaris, which is a new fast chorus porosity paper coffee filter. So my very first time using it, so I have no idea if it was really doing it well or not. Brian says my brother's on the show. Shout out to Steve. Oh, what's up, Steve? How are you, man? Good to hear from you. Your brother was telling me a while back about your criticisms of the show, and he was all like, my brother Steve says that you're doing a bad job with this, and you should do this, and you should do that. And I was like, you know what? Your brother Steve sounds right. So we made some changes. I forgot what they are at the moment, but we did make some changes here for that. Fast brew time, fast cigar draw. Anything sense of theme? I know it's. I know, but the fast the fast draw is really because I'm enjoying it. All right, what's up, Steve? Welcome, welcome. How's life in Arizona? I keep asking everybody that goes to Arizona. Nobody ever goes there. But have you been to Pizzeria Bianco? They say, I've been reading about it for years. They say it's the very best pizza in America. I've always wanted to go. I've actually thought about flying out there prior to all this pandemic stuff. He's a smart guy. He knows. He sees what's wrong. And he's like, you know what? That guy, that friend of yours, Brian, he's a fool. I don't know what he's doing up there. But he should be changing some stuff. George says, maintaining with the vodka martini. Excellent. First 135, I had a crack near the foot. First third had a crack near the foot. Smoked very well. Performed like there wasn't a crack. Oh, good. That's excellent. I'm glad to hear that. That Bellas Artes is a nice smoke. That's a nice smoke. Holding on there. What do you got? What the rest of you guys smoking tonight? Oh, yeah, this is nice. All right, so I would say, what did we say that's first third done? Would we say that's... Am I sensing a downturn? Like, it's still kind of uneven, and I really should be slowing down, but I really don't want to. It's one of those conundrums. Maybe what we should do is do some tactics to let us slow down by opening our mailbag this week. All right, so Brian was the other day where we were hanging out. He was telling me that, he was comparing the mailbag section of our show here to James May and how James May gets better gifts or gets better packages than I do. And I'm not surprised. That guy gets a lot of people to send him stuff. I have to buy the stuff, and it's just practical kind of things. So the first thing we got is from a company called Adorama. Adorama is a photographic general supply up in New York City. And this is something that I bought because I was like, you know what, that coffee sign is so super bright that I want to like tone it down. So I called up Service Photo downtown, and I spoke to one of the guys there. I forgot. I don't know who I spoke to, and I actually know all the guys there, but on the phone I don't really know what to say. I don't know them all by name. That would meaning. And so I asked the guy. I said, "Hey man, can you get neutral density gels?" And he's like, "I don't think they make neutral density gels." Are you sure? I was like, "Yeah, I think." And I'm thinking, I'm sure they make. I'm not going to argue with him, but I was like, I'm sure they make neutral density gels. And what neutral density gels are, if you know what a gel is basically this plastic colored thing that you put over lighting to adjust the light temperature or light color. So like, for example, I used to have them in here. They're actually not down. They're not in here anymore. But you can use it for all kinds of stuff. So sometimes you'll put like bastard amber up on a window that's outside, so you can bring in natural lighting, and it'll be tungsten based. And now I can't get this darn thing off. What in the world? So the neutral density filter gel, I think this is a half stop. Oh no, this is a stop and a half. But you can take this, and what you do, it reduces the exposure rate without changing anything else. So you put this up and do it here. So as you can see, I have now dropped the exposure by like 1.5 stops, maybe 2. Actually, this looks like it could be 2 stops. Right? So optically, it should work fine. And so what I'm trying to do is I want to reduce the output of the neon without changing the color temperature of the neon. And so that's kind of what you use these neutral density filters, these neutral density gels. And I bought 2 of them because I need to cover the entire 19 by 20 or whatever it is, 24 by 20 span of the neon. But now if we end up with at this lower point, that may be a moot point. Yeah, I don't know who that guy is. I don't know who that guy is. You're going to need a backup smoke from the farm. Oh, you're probably right. You're probably right. He's talking about the Oliva 135. Wait, which one is that? The fast brew time or the glue? Oh, the glue. There's a glue odor on your Oliva. Oh, that's interesting. Who's getting it? Is that Bud? Is that you? Are you the only one with the glue, or is Tony and Dave getting the same? That's an interesting twist. And the glue. So, when we were younger, we might play with Elmer's glue, and it's kind of this comforting aroma. Oh, George. Glue on the glue. Maintaining vodka martini and first cracking the right foot smoke very well performed. Can't smoke. Oh, there's a can't smoke glue from Brian up here. Oh, well, yeah. George comment, you said 1/3. Oh, gotcha. First. Oh, I see. Okay, so I know that he's smoking the Bellas Artes Maduro now. So I thought when he said 135, I figured he meant one. I just figured it's a typo one though, because sometimes it's hard to, especially you're out there in the cold. You're like, oh my god, I got to type this thing. So I just figured it was 130. You're right. Okay, so first 135, 5th anniversary. I had a crack near the foot. Smoked very well. Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you, guys. I appreciate you clearing that up for me. Yeah, this had the little crack, right? And it not bad. So okay, I'm definitely past the first third now. So let's see. We're going to give it here. First third. Let's. You know what? While I'm here, let me look up. So I have also put together a system for the scoring. So flavor of this, would we say that it's very good or excellent or outstanding or extraordinary? Nobody has glue on tonight. Oh, good. Okay, good. So first, third flavor, excellent or outstanding? Yeah, Tony says he'd go excellent. I'm inclined to agree. Would you say it's excellent, or plus excellent? I'm leaning towards a little bit plus excellent. So I'm saying for that 8.25. And I should show you when we're thinking about the excellent. Let me show you here at least what I'm looking at. So this is while we have the score sheet, this is actually the way the qualitative scale. So good, very good, excellent, outstanding, extraordinary. So really thinking about the categories, not necessarily in terms of numbers, but more in terms of descriptives, like we've talked about in the past. And so we're assigning the point system to good, very good, excellent, outstanding, extraordinary. Like extraordinary, that's the 10, right? And good can be arranged between 6 to 6.75, as well as the others. So Tony says plus excellent. Okay, so what do you think, Tony? Would you say 825, 85, 875? 8625. Nice, very nice. Whoops. And Bud says, I aired out the cigars and then reboxed. Scott had to return his first box of the 135s. You guys got what, full boxes of these? Oh, nice. I mean, now that we're smoking them, good choice. Uh-oh, the Scott stories, that's got to be something. Maybe you should come online and tell us. Come online. Let me know who come online. I'll send you a link. Let me know what you're thinking. I'm interested to know. It'd be easier to talk than just to type it all. All right, so body, I would say, I'm saying that we're kind of on the medium plus. Like, I wouldn't say it's heavy. I would say it's kind of pretty intense on the scale there. Quality wise, I'd say 8.5. Excellent. All right. So we're now here. Oh, I should do the cold draw. The fragrance cold draw. I'd say 7.5 for that. 7.5. So where are we now? We are here and the scoring 7.5, 8.25, and 8.5. That's where I'm placing it. I don't know what you guys are thinking, if you guys are keeping track, but I'd like to know. But the second, for me, the second, third has been going very well. Very consistent, I'd say, with the first third. Like it's not changing terribly, but it's still very pleasant, very, very, very enjoyable. But I do want to remove the wrapper now. I mean the band. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this angle, this angle of the camera does work out very well. Di says I should keep the label for the leaderboard. Oh, Di, you don't know. You don't know the sickness of cigar smokers with this. We just have stacks and bags of cigar bands that we're going to use for something important. We just don't know. Maybe just give them to Eric so that his wife, his fiance, can make us posters. Tony 8625, leave it to you to take out 3. And Tony says second, third, very consistent, still great flavor, razor sharp burn. Yeah, mine's still my burn is wavering a little bit as far as the evenness of the burn. It's still very nice. Like the smoke production, really good. Maybe I should take those and put them on on those magnetic things, like in Top Gear. That's something. Did they continue that leaderboard in Top Gear after Clarkson and them left, or did Clarkson and them take it with them to their next show? I haven't really followed much of that. So nice. Steve says use them for table lamp. Oh, that's a good idea. He's too smart to get married. Young Ma, good to see you, man. Welcome. How are you doing tonight? We're since you're joining us, we are drinking the Ethiopia Uragatella from Grandmother Roastery in Dubai. Buddy of mine, Freddie, is the roaster there, and he was kind enough to give me this bag when I was there in Dubai. And we're actually also, I don't really know if it's hard for me to actually judge this coffee because I was using the Cigarist paper filters, these fast paper filters for the very first time. So there's a lot of variables that are happening with this coffee that I'm not really sure if it's I'm not sure exactly how it's contributing or detracting from the coffee experience, but it's pretty good. It's very bright, light. I don't know if you've used these Cibarists, but the whole idea that they were talking about on their website is faster brewing. And I don't know if I'm not really in tune with the faster brewing world or idea, but if you are, I'm interested to hear more about it. Di says, Clarkson sold the rights to the BBC, lost the Stig and leaderboard. Oh, well. Did he sell the rights, or I thought he was just fired outright. Oh, Steve uses it for a table lamp. Oh, that's a great idea. Is the paper too thick? So, Steve, if you're using it if you're using the cigar bands for your lampshade, are they translucent enough so you can see, so that it illuminates? That'd be kind of cool, I think. All right, so we're smoking the Oliva V, and I think I'm getting to the point where it's starting to get a little bit. So it's got a lot. So until this point, it's been very full bodied, very, very like rich, very thick, and like very suddenly. And I don't know if it's because the coffee's interfering now with it, but suddenly it feels a little more heat and a little bit brighter. Now, I'm going to take a break from it. Let's look at the next thing in the mailbag. This is something that mustn't. God, I don't even know why I'm even showing this, because this can't be terribly exciting. For me, it's terribly exciting, but for you guys, I can't imagine it be terribly exciting. I'm going to save it for you. I don't want to give away spoilers, right? Spoilers. But this is a box. I'm getting some pipe. I'm giving some pipe. Oh, what is this? This isn't you've got to be kidding me. So I've been building a studio for the channel in the annex here. And I'm using 1.5-inch diameter tubing, aluminum tubing, to build a grid. So I ordered this one, and it said it was 1.5 inches. It came in the mail. It was 1 inch, so too thin. I mean, I could use it, but it's like I want to have it all equal. So I looked this one up, and I even asked questions to the guys about the specifications, and they're like, yeah, 4 centimeters, 1.5 inches. And I'm like, this is not 1.5 inches. No way. I mean, it's just too thick. See, nearly 2. That's nearly 2 inches. That's 2 inches. Oh, just about 1.3 inches. Ugh. So now I've got 2 sets of pipes that are not quite the right. Such is life. It's a lightsaber. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, did you see that thing on I thought somewhere. So, I saw it on Facebook, Instagram. 2 lightsabers for the price of 1. So 2 for $200, huh? And they look pretty cool. I don't know if they're good or not, but. So Young Ma's asking, this is probably a dumb question, but what is the proper way to smoke a cigar? Well, that is not a dumb question. And you are in the right place, because not only am I a cigar smoker, but pretty much everybody in the audience here tonight is. With the exception of like Mark Testa. He doesn't. I don't think you smoke, right, Mark? Mark and Di smokes a little bit. So the idea of cigar smoking, and so this is why I think there's a connection between cigars and coffee, is that cigar smoking is not like cigarette smoking, where it's all about stimulation and nicotine, right? So you see the guys that are smoking cigarettes, they're out in all kinds of, like they're standing outside right now in the cold weather, smoking away. doing their 5 to 7 minutes smoke because they need to get that nicotine buzz, right? So cigar smoking is not about that. It's not about getting a buzz from the nicotine. It's really actually when you get the buzz from the nicotine, it's probably overload and you're feeling kind of ill and you need to go lie down. Cigar smoking is all about relaxation, to be able to sit down, have a smoke, relax with friends, enjoy convivial discussion, even when you're like disagreeing on whatever about whether you think that cigar is terrible or not, or if you think this president is terrible or not. You're typically doing it in an environment of conviviality, right? Where, you could talk about things and, it doesn't get it does get heated. Don't get me wrong, but it can, but not amongst friends. This is kind of the lubrication that just kind of make your thing go, right? Now, what's the deal? So we're not inhale. You don't inhale the cigar, right? You just puff on the cigar and if you, as you know, when you cup coffee, right? You cup coffee. And so we're cupping coffee and we're slurping it and we hold it in the mouth, coat the palate to taste it, and then spit it out typically, right? Especially if you're doing it professionally. You're spitting it out so that you don't get over caffeinated. But cigar smoking is almost exactly like that. You're taking a puff. You're just bringing it to coat your palate so you can taste the flavor of the aroma of the smoke. You're tasting the flavor of the smoke. You're also getting some of the flavor of the wrapper, the tobacco leaf that's touching your lips and on your tongue. You're also getting some olfactory because some of that is also coming through your nose. So it's truly a sensory experience. And I find it to be one where, as someone that does cupping, as coffee tasting, it's very similar in that you're tasting the flavors and the nuance of the tobacco. It's just you're tasting tobacco rather than coffee. So in a nutshell, that's essentially the deal. You need a Xikar box cutter. I should get one of those. I wonder if they make that. Maybe they'll send it to me. Xikar, if you're watching, please send me one. I'd love it. I'll use it. It would be nice. It would be nice. The measurements from the inside. But you know what? I've been talking about the OD, not the ID. And a Sharpie marker to write Xikar. Oh, nice. I got plenty of Sharpies around here. Plenty of Sharpies. Oh, so Mark does not smoke. Used to, liked it, and understand. Okay, good. I used to like blunts. I never understood the blunt thing, to be honest. Like you're taking, like Phillies, you're cutting them in half. Like, are you actually slicing it completely down the center? Like, are you slicing it like this way on both sides? So you have two halves, and then you hollow it out, and then you fill it. And then what I've always wondered is, how do you reassemble the two halves? That's part of it. And then the other side of it is as a cigar smoker, like when you accidentally inhale, man, it really is harsh and like brutal. So the idea of smoking marijuana with tobacco like that just seemed like super harsh and like not very pleasant. But it must be somewhat pleasant because people don't, or maybe Phillies uses a more mild tobacco that's easier to go. I don't know. And food, because Guy Fieri has been 18. Guy Fieri has a cigar? What? This I gotta look up. Guy Fieri cigar. Let's have a look at this. This has got to be something. Come on now. I wish this would go faster. Guy Fieri teaming up with Espinosa Cigars for Knuckle Sandwich. Celebrity chef and restaurateur Guy Fieri is getting into the cigar business. I didn't even know he smoked cigars. Early January, social media posts began. Is this early January? Oh, yeah, January 4th. Fieri Espinosa working together. Debuting in February. Well, that's going to be very popular. Guy is super popular. Habano-based blend. Well, the other base, Maduro-based blend. We don't know much about that. 2 lines, knuckle sandwich, Habano, knuckle sandwich, Maduro. Why knuckle sandwich? Like, he's not like a tough guy. He's like a fuzzy, lovey, bearish kind of guy. Redfoot Ribbon, Nicaraguan Tobacco, AJ Fernandez, San Lotano Factory in Ocotal. Oh, I didn't know his place. I didn't know San Lotano was Ocotal. That's pretty far north. Like, that's very close to the border with Honduras. 3 sizes, packing formats. Oh, we'll have to give that a try. In the work for 18 months. With Fieri described as very hands-on in the process. Oh, interesting. Yeah, guys, getting a cigar. But Brian says the buzz comes from paired alcohol. And Bud says the cigars also prevent road rage. My wife has instructed me to light up on road trips to calm me down. Yeah, that's true. Like when I'm going on road trips, I usually gauge the trip by cigar. Like when I drive to Boston, that's like a 3, 4, maybe 5 cigar trip. All right. So begin shipping to stores in early March. Okay. Oh, interesting. Fieri's getting a cigar. That's pretty cool. Yeah. She is a smart woman. Bud is smart, has a smart woman. Kind of missed the blunts, but not really. But here's the thing, though, of a young man, is that I don't know what the other guys feel, but I do not recommend getting into cigars because you know what? There was a movie many, many years ago called Crimson Tide, starring Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. And Gene's a character that is a submarine, is a submariner captain of a boomer, of a nuclear launch vessel. And as they're sailing out of Pearl, they're on the bridge which is on that mast of the ship, right, of the boat. And he's talking with Denzel's character, and he's like, "Try your first cigar. What do you think about it?" It's good. It's good. He said, "Don't get used to it. It's more expensive than drugs," and that is true. I went to a friend's wedding a few years back in Denver, Colorado. So I was there for like maybe 3, 4 days. So I arrived there, get my hotel room, and I'm like, all right. And in Denver, marijuana is completely illegal, right? It's totally, you just walk into a store and buy. You don't need any, like here in Maryland, you need a license. There, you just go buy. So I went to the store and I bought. So I bought two pre-made joints, 1 gram joints, because I said to the guy, I said, I want to try, 2 different types of joints. Let me try whatever you have. What do you recommend? And so he gave me some recommendations. So I spent maybe $20, maybe 25, maybe $30. It could have been $15 for the joint. Brought them back to my hotel, and every evening, when I go back to the hotel, I would, take a few puffs and just explore it. So, like, I don't really do a lot of marijuana. I never really did a lot of marijuana, so I just thought I'd give it a try. And but during those 4 days that I'm there, as I'm going around, Denver and Boulder for the wedding, I'm also stopping by cigar shops, having a cigar here and there. So in those 4 days, with the pot, so let's say I spent $30. I probably spent close to anywhere between maybe $70 on cigars the same amount of time. So it's much more expensive. So I would not recommend that you get into it. Tony says, getting ready to release the knuckle sandwich. Cigars been with it if the last. Ah, yes. Just blunts and a lot of salad. Being made in Nicaragua by AJ Fernandez. Yes. Am I getting an even burn? No, actually the burn. Now that I stopped and started blabbing, the burn has evened out. So it's really the unevenness of this cigar has been more due to the fact that I'm the one causing it. But here's the thing. So I'm thinking now about the second, third. And if I think of myself, so what's the flavor like? My first reaction is it's good. But is that truly act? And so let's go back to our scoring, right? Good is 6, very good is 7, um, excellent is 8, outstanding is 9, extraordinary is 10. But I'm saying it's good. Is 6 really indicative of this cigar and that flavor profile? Haha, guy, yeah, exactly. Like I didn't know what I didn't know if I would be if he was a cigar guy. Knuckle sandwich. That's what I want after. You know, the interesting thing about the guy is that he is like he's his character, right? And he's this guy that my initial reaction early on was like, who is this Joker, right? But the longer that I've heard, the more that I've heard about him from professional people that I know that have met him and know him, I've worked with him. He's a genuine. They say he's a very genuinely good person, and so he's kind of like Emerald in that respect. Where after Emerald really got a lot of fame, people kind of like were down on him, but Emerald was always a very solid chef and very good person. So I'm, as much as he can be, as much as Fury can be a caricature, I got to give him a lot of respect because he seems to be very true to who he is, and he seems to be good to his people from what I've heard. So I can't fault any of that. So Mark says 1 longitudinal cut, just use the paper, re-roll with new filler. It does. So you do you unwrap the paper? Is that right? You unwrap the wrapper because they're using paper wrappers. They're just using colored paper. They're not using actual tobacco leaf, right? And so you just kind of pull some of it out and then rewrap it and then lick it. Okay, that makes sense. Yes, in some communities, I don't know what kind of communities those are, but I think they're down in Miami. George Sam, I hope the cigar is better than his restaurant at the Horseshoe. Yeah, I can't imagine the restaurant's going to be very good. So the food of the restaurant may not be very good, but I heard that he's a very good person. No, unfortunately, his face is not on the label. That would be epic. Instead, he's going for this whole, and I don't know his persona really, but like he's going for this whole, whoops. That wasn't it. He's going for this whole chef with a skeleton. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if his skeleton if that's his thing or not, but I would actually prefer to have his face on it. AJ likes mountainside growing fields. Oh, you mean it because that's why they're in Ocotal? One of my really good friends has his farms up in Ocotal. Espinosa Cigars, they're big time. Yeah. He's at least he's going with to make his cigars. He's not going to some shoddy kind of producer. Tony says he's entering the last third, building nicely in strength, still burning flawlessly, great flavor. Young man wants to know, do you usually go through a whole cigar in one sitting? Yes, typically, because you know what you're spending. Like this cigar is about $10. And you could let it burn out and come back to it later. And a lot of times, sometimes we will do that for extenuating circumstances. But typically, you'll want to sit there and consume the entire smoke all at once, the entire cigar all in one session. When you do put it down and come back to it later, it is to the detriment of the cigar. Like for example, if you imagine you're drinking a coffee, right? And you're taking your time with it, and you let it cool down, and you're like, oh, you know what? I'll pick it up tomorrow. You put it down, and then you reheat it. Like either you put it in a pan and heat it up, or you put it in the microwave, heat up. That coffee, even though it's a nice quality coffee, it's going to lose something, right? It's going to lose some of that essence that you really enjoyed in the first tasting. So that's the same thing with cigars. So typically you will try to smoke it all in one session. And when you have a cigar that's really, really good, it's going to give you a lot of positives as far as flavor, complexity, depth, body, strength. And hopefully you're going to have a cigar that is dynamic enough that it will hold your interest. I wanted to say, I initially was going to say that it will change over as you smoke it, but this one hasn't really changed dramatically throughout the whole smoking experience. Like at the beginning of the second third, it kind of, or maybe the middle of the second third, it kind of dipped into like a little bit of acidity, which could have been from the coffee, but overall it's been very consistent. However, it's deep and complex enough that it actually holds your interest. Sometimes you get cigars that you're smoking, they're not dynamic, they're not really changing necessarily, but they're also not, they don't have enough oomph to hold your attention. And so there's been a number of times when I've been on the show smoking a cigar and I'm just kind of like, well, I wish I would finish this soon. Like you can't get through it fast enough, right? Like Brian says, yes, in one sitting. Good with the workers though, of course. Yeah. That's what I hear about him from other people that have worked with him or know guy personally. So do you offer cigars at your coffee bar? No, we do not. I mean, we do not. So at our old shop in Hampton, the Hampton shop was really nice because while we have an indoor area, we did back then have what we called our secret garden. There was a garden out in the back. You could sit down. It's all filled with flora and, really pretty setting, nice table. And you could sit out there and if people wanted to smoke cigarettes or cigars, we never bothered them with that. Like we let people do what they want to do, right? As long as people are respectful to each other, it was a place where you come in kind of like an oasis, but we did not sell cigars. So there was a point where I thought that maybe we might, because in 2013, we partnered up with Fratello Cigars to produce a blend of coffee to pair with their cigar. And that turned out very, very nicely. The thing is that when it comes to licensing, in Maryland, a food service establishment cannot sell tobacco. Like you can't really engage in smoking in a food place. That stopped in like 2007. Mark says the skeleton chef goes with Fear's aesthetic kind of retro vintage 60s rock. Oh, okay. I get it. I dig it. I know he likes all those kind of like, I guess for lack of a better term, that MMA kind of like style of like gothic graphic shirts and like, those kind of bowling shirts. And I see them. I don't really watch his shows, so I don't really know, but I see some of his pictures and I don't know. But cool. I'll give it a try if we can get it. Maybe in April we'll have one. There's a great Brazil nut quality coming at the end. Oh, interesting. Brazil nuts. They would always have a couple of those in the nut mix on United. And when they serve the warm nuts, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. The Brazil nut. I think that there's a little bit of change in the second third because we had that little bit of aberration. So I'm only giving it an 8. Oop, I should change that. An 8 for the second third in flavor and 8.25 in the body. And actually, if you notice this, young man, since you're more of a coffee guy, we're using a grading form, and this kind of came about because one of the things that I always kind of bitch about on the show is that when we look at other people's reviews of cigars, they talk about certain characters of their cigars, and they give scores that aren't matching, right? They're saying, oh, it was nice, but it was in 92. And it's like, what? How do you get to 92? So instead of like complaining about it so much, I decided that we're going to create our own scoring system. And I did base it very heavily on the Specialty Coffee Association's cupping form. So you could see if you're familiar with the form, there's a lot of similarity in the scoring technique, not necessarily the categories, but just the approach to evaluation. And George says the skeleton could be one of his tattoos. Oh, that could be. Yeah, I believe it. Like, I haven't been to any of those restaurants at the Maryland, the Baltimore Horseshoe Casino, because Fieri has his there. I think at one time Giada had her restaurant there. I don't think it's there anymore. And then Ramsey has a steakhouse there. I met the sous chef of Ramsey Steakhouse at the Star Chefs conference a couple years back. She was really friendly, but I still haven't had the chance to go down to try it. Someone's asking, so does the taste change as you smoke? It can. It doesn't always, but it can. In this particular case, it hasn't changed dramatically. It's been very consistent, but consistent in a very fulfilling and enjoyable way. I don't know. What do you got? Because also Bud and Tony and Dave are smoking this cigar as well at the same time. What do you guys think about that? Any thoughts on the consistency of this cigar? Has it changed very much, or I am like evening out the uneven burn, which was probably a bad idea. So there's a little bit of change, a little bit more of an acridity, and I think that's because I torched it with this matches, which I probably did it too early instead of letting it burn down. Steven says it is a tattoo. Oh, okay. Maybe we can find Guy's tattoo. Guy Fieri. Oh yeah, you're right. Let's look at it. Guy Fieri tattoo. Look at that. That's his. I certainly hope that he did not get this on himself. You know what? You've got to be a super fan to have Guy Fieri tattooed on your body. I love it. This one is Namaste Morgan. Is that what it says? Let's see. Pinterest. Yeah, so Tony says he's getting subtle changes. Yeah, the changes are subtle in this cigar. It's not, but I think overall it's not changing. To me, at least, not changing very dramatically. Oh, and Eric's smoking the same cigar. Oh, good. All four of you guys are nice. And Rusty says, if you want pure comedy, find Pete Wells, New York Times, 2012. Oh, we're going to have to look at that. Pete Wells. Guy Fieri. News. Oh. Here it is. November 14th, 2012. Not as seen on TV. Oh my, he only has 1 star. Guy Fieri, have you eaten your new restaurant in Times Square? He probably has not. Did panic grip your soul as you stared into the whirling hypno wheel of the menu, where adjectives and nouns spinning a crazy vortex? When you saw the burger described as Guy's Pat Lafreda custom blend, all natural Creekstone Farm, Black Angus beef patty, LTOP SMC, and a slathering of donkey sauce on garlic buttered brioche, did your mind touch the void for? God. Did you notice the menu was unreliable predictor of what actually came to the table? Were the bourbon butter crunch chips missing from your almond joy cocktail too? Oh my gosh, man. Would you see what happened to the black bean and roasted squash soup we ordered? Oh my. If a customer shows up with a reservation, one of your two Tex-Mex Tex Wasabi outlets, and the rest of the party has already been said, does the host say, why don't you have a look around and see if you can find them? 200. Wow. Oh my, I'm going to have to read this in its entirety later. Look, he's just asking all these questions about everything that went wrong. Wow. Did your toasted marshmallow taste like fish? Oh man. I wonder if you're a guy and you're like super into what you're doing and you get this from the New York Times, the paper of record, and I wonder what your reaction is. Like, obviously, Guy is not a chef. He was just some guy that sent a video in to a Food Network back in 2002, 2003, and got a TV show out of it. And he's not really a food guy. So this is all run by people that are, I guess, in his organization. So, oh, poor guy. So Youngman wants to know, can a cigar start out good and end badly? Yes, absolutely. And good and bad is also, like right now, that last puff, there was kind of a not so pleasant sensation, that last draw. So, and good and bad is really subjective to the person. Everybody has everybody has different palates, and palates react differently to different stimuli. Like, for example, there's a cigar that a lot of our friends will agree with, a cigar maker that a lot of our friends will agree with, that makes cigars very popular, very famous, very, very widespread, but doesn't make cigars that really fit most of our profiles. And that's a company called Gurkha. Usually, and Gurkha, like in my case, my experience with Gurkhas have been generally negative as far as the smoking experience. So it's to the point where, like, I don't even know how I would try any of them, or I'd be very hesitant to try them. I'm very hesitant to try them. But we have another one of our friends who loves them. Like, he's like, I remember one of the first times he told me, he's like, man, I love that Gurkha 12-year vintage. And I was like, oh my gosh, and he was like, I love it. He loved it. And that was one of the cigars that I thought was one of the worst I'd ever had. So it's very subjective. And, it's one thing, like some people online and some of the forums now, like this one forum online, Cigar Lovers on Facebook, there's a lot of new guys that come on there that are saying, well, what should I try? Give me some recommendations. The other guys try to give me these recommendations, which they're all the typical like brands that you'd think are like quality, which is fine. But I always tell them, it's like, hey, when I first started smoking cigars, I found a local shop that I could go to. And over time, I got to know the staff. But really what I started doing, and, when you get to know people, they'll give you their suggestions based on what they like, right? They'll tell you, oh, try this, try that. This is really good. This is really good. But what I did is I really went in, well, pretty much every day. And I went and had a different cigar from the humidor every day. So I would go into the humidor, and that's where we keep all the cigars in this humidity and temperature controlled environment. And I went every day, or every time I would go in, I would grab a different cigar from the humidor, and I smoked my way over a total of several months through every box and every type of cigar that they had at the shop. And that really helped. I think that really helped me to develop my palate and understanding of what I enjoyed. And so when you ask, can a cigar start up great? Yes, it can. And it can turn into negative, like sometimes those cigars that I told you earlier that were like a chore to smoke, like they might have started really well at the very beginning. And then by the time they got the second, third, and last third, it's like, oh my gosh. Is it his lower back? The tattoo? It could be. That with his face on it, that would be something. At least you wouldn't have to see the rendition of his face. And that would have been a good cigar band. That would have been good. That would have been good. Yeah, it looks like we are rolling strong. Nice to see everybody out here. The coffee, yeah, the coffee can, like I tell you, like sometimes when we read some of the descriptions where other people other people have written reviews about the cigar, they talk about like having coffee notes, and I typically don't get those, and I think it's because I am drinking coffee with it. So I'm hesitant to say there's coffee in it because, well, I don't know I don't really know if the coffee flavor that I'm perceiving is necessarily coming from the tobacco or from the coffee itself. Brian says, I was unable to replicate the Gurkha experience. Very sad. Yeah, you're sad. It was sad. I mean, one day you'll find those tubos again, and maybe we'll get to experience that joy. And Dai says he likes pumpkin spice beer, starts off good, but struggles to finish. Or likes pumpkin spice. Yeah. I don't really drink pumpkin spice anything. I started recently to drink more ciders. Like I don't really like beer as much, so I thought let me do some cider. But I think I like the English ciders, but I'm having very difficulty finding any. Like I was at the wine source and they didn't have any. At least I didn't find it. I went to the local Shawan Liquors here near the roastery, and all they had was this Bold Rock and a couple local ones. And maybe I'll explore more of them, but it's a little bit expensive. So this, from my experience, this third is a little bit more bitter, a little bit more acrid, still pleasant and good strength overall. But to me, there is a difference. Like it's not as good as the first 2/3. All right, let's go. I'm going to let that sit. Maybe I just need to let it sit for a few moments. Let's go to the last package in our mailbox. From Amazon. Actually, all of this, the polls came from Amazon. I don't know what to do about these darn polls. I have to see if the C clamps that I have will work. I use these things called Mayfair clamps, which are these specialized type of clamps that have a 5/8 baby pin in them, and then you use the baby pin to mount the lighting to it, which probably doesn't mean anything to everyone. But the jaws on these Mayfair clamps only go so wide, and I don't want to go to the point, if I'm using the hang lights, I don't want to go to the point where they're fully extended. Oh. All right. Oh, yes. Excellent. So you've seen those backdrops, right? And you've seen me on this show use the green screen where I had the projected backdrops. And what this is rollers, backdrop rollers. So you put the seamless paper is on cardboard tubing. So you insert these into the tubing, and then you take this and you screw this forward, and you can see this conical piece right here. What it does, there's this, whatever you call this thing, I don't know what it's called, but it compresses the two conicals and expands these in. And what they do is that they snug up on the inside of the tube, and then you take the hangers and these hangers can be either mounted to the wall or to the ceiling. In my case, it's probably going to be the ceiling. And then you hang them. I don't know where these go. They go here? No, maybe they go here. Oh, they go here like this. right? And on each one, and then these mount to it. And then what you do is it comes to the chain that you thread through this gear, and you can then use that chain to roll up and roll down the backdrop. That's going to be very helpful. Get that out. And it comes a little counterweight so that it holds the chain down while you're pulling. All right, that's the last one of our mailbag. I've heard, though, that when you have it from the ceiling, it can jump out. That could be a little bit of a problem. So I have to figure out exactly how I'm going to mount those. But what I'm trying to do is get all of the equipment off of stands that are off of floor stands, so they're all suspended from the ceiling. That way, it gives you just a lot more, workspace to work with. Oh, something broke off. Hope that's not important. The screen's so tiny. Sorry. I forgot to switch back to full screen. But like I was saying, since we're on this is these kind of, so as you can see, it's spreading here, right? And so that cinches up against the interior diameter of the you know what I'm saying. I don't know what these cams are like that for. I have to read the directions. So did that help? A little bit. It's still got a bit more acridity. It's a little bit less enjoyable. Dyke says it's a huge, sophisticated toilet paper. Yes, exactly. So I'm hoping, like I was so part of the reason I bought this particular one is that these YouTubers I know out in Las Vegas, they use it, and they use this particular model. And so I messaged them. I said, hey, you started using these about 10 months ago. How's it holding up after all this time? Because when you read the reviews on Amazon, some people are like, oh, it's got this problem. But I wanted to know from someone that actually uses it on a daily basis. And they said that it was very good. And some people were complaining about the bolts. Right? They've got these like, I don't know, these kind of bolts that you screw in and it expands and holds it into practically anything. Some people were complaining about this. They didn't understand how to use it. And, I was like, come on now. Look it up on the internet. Luckily, since I have wood joists in the annex, I'm just going to put like thick wood screws and screw it directly into the joists. And I calculated, I think the ceiling joists above are at 12 inches. So 9 feet, it'll be close. It'll be close. Maybe I'll just have to put some, to screw up some 2x4 across to give it a little more width if I need to. Those bolts are too small, right, Tony? Tony, it's only anchoring. You're only doing your job if you're getting 3-inch screws at the minimum. And Brian likes the mail time. I'm glad you like the mail time. Not as exciting as James may. I understand, but it's all good. It's definitely getting hotter. And again, even though I had waited, it had evened out. Now it's suddenly uneven again. 4-inch lag bolt should do it. Oh, I got to run out to the hardware store tomorrow then. What I really need to do is I need to anchor a horseshoe. My aunt gave me this horseshoe for New Year's. And I was kind of like surprised that she was giving this to me. She was like, it's for good luck. And it's a feng shui thing, right? Feng shui thing. So my aunt's very into feng shui, right? My mom is very into feng shui. So they're like, you need to hang this up above the door. And I was thinking, above the door? Are we in Texas? Like, are Asians putting horseshoes on their house? What? I don't understand. So I was like, oh, okay. So we had to paint it red. So I took them. She bought like 7 of them from a blacksmith in Hampstead. And she brought them to me. She's like, I have to paint these. So I cleaned them up, primered them, painted them red. They look really nice, but it's like, it's just kind of like, why'd you buy 7? What did the guy say to you? Like, why do you have 7? Like, is your horse missing a leg or something? Still good, but a little bit definitely trending downward from the second, third, I think, from my experience. I don't know how you guys are holding on with it. Oh, yes, exactly. So you guys catch up on the Boba Fett? I just watched that last night. It's pretty good. I think it's a pretty good series. I'm enjoying it. Oh, and I finally saw the Eternals. I saw the Eternals finally. And, that was actually, I thought Marvel's Eternals was pretty good. And Dice says, what are your thoughts on Salt Bay's 24? Salt Bay has a 24 karat. I got to look this up now. I got to look this up. Salt Bay 24K. I'm not familiar with this. Oh my. Dripping Gold, Salt Bay 24 karat gold cappuccino is 10 times more expensive than the average coffee after Salt Bay steak trend. What Salt Bay's golden steak causing a frenzy in the capital? What capital are you in? Oh, it must be in London. Okay. A string of other restaurants have followed the sparkling trend to attract customers. Look at that. Just gold leaf. Oh, 24 karat for $30. $30. That's worth trying. Sunday is my last day in London. I will go to Riyadh to open my 28th restaurant. Wow. Drunch in Mayfair is the latest selling a cup of coffee with covered gold leaf set back $30. It would be worth it if they do the cappuccino really, really good. Like if it's really, really awesome. Then yeah, that'd be worth it for the gold, At least that's what I think. But Salt Bay's opening in Riyadh. Next time I go to Riyadh, I'm going to check it out. There's actually really great steak joints in Riyadh. Like actually this one place we go to called Porterhouse. Very good steaks. They have this really interesting thing where they make a compound butter with maybe it's parsley or something, whatever. They make a compound butter and they take the compound butter, but they mold it into a small what do you call it? Like a candle. They put a wick in the center and they have this little like ceramic container for it, and they light it and it melts. It melts, and then you just take your bread and you dip it. It's really quite clever, I thought. So Brian says, I'm caught up on the series. Oh, good. Yeah. What do you think about the boba? The fat, not the tea. And so Young saying, when do you usually cash the cigar? Cash the cigar. What do you mean, cash? Or catch? Or ash? When do you usually ash the cigar? So I usually ash when I feel like I need to. That just seems rather. That's not meant to be, smug or anything, but really, it's really when you feel like it. Now, there's many times when I'm like letting it burn, letting it burn, letting it burn. I'm thinking, oh, okay, I still got a few moments, and then suddenly it'll just kind of fall. Then it gets all over. It gets all over all over everything. But you'll see guys that are trying to do the longest ash, where they will try to smoke the cigar for as long as they can without dropping the ash. So, you could have guys smoke this all the way down. And supposedly that's all about the quality of the construction. I think it's partially that and partially luck. Sorry, man, when do you put it out? So you put it out, really, you can put out whenever you're done. Whenever you feel like you're done. Like, for example, on this show, since I'm kind of reviewing them for the show, like I'll smoke them all the way down, even the ones that I'm really not enjoying after a while, just because we're there. And actually, if I'm smoking by myself, and I'm not enjoying it, I'll still smoke it all the way down because, I've probably spent $10 on it. And so I want to get the maximum out of it. And that's the crazy thing. Like you spend $10 or more on a cigar, and let's say it doesn't perform the way you were hoping or the way that you would like it to perform. And so you smoke it all the way down, and you're already past the point of pleasure because you're no longer enjoying the experience. But you smoke it all the way down because you spent all that money. So, but you can put it down whenever you want. And here's the thing: so if you ever try it, if you ever go out to try it, and let's say you go to a shop in New York City, and you're like, I want to give it a try, and you start smoking, and let's say you're done. Like, let's say you reach the point where you're like, okay, I've had enough. Don't feel like you have to continue. You can stop at any time. And when you do stop, just take the cigar, put it down in the ashtray, and leave it alone. Unlike a cigarette, the cigar will naturally die out if you don't smoke it. The worst thing you could do, especially if you're in a shop with like people that are there that are cigar smokers, is to stub it out. Like if you stub it out, something about the stubbing out of the tobacco causes great amount of acridity and just nasty aromas to come out of it, and it permeates the room, and you're really just pissing off everybody around you. So everybody will just hate you after that point. So don't do that. Just put it down, let it die out, say thank you to everybody else, greet them well, tell them you're on your way, and you're good to go. Peacemaker is hilarious. Oh, the last episode, yes. And Rusty says, oh, we should have the longest ash for the 100. Oh, we can do that. Absolutely. Yeah, Peacemaker. I did enjoy the last episode. And then what's a price range I should go for? Oh, that's a good question. Go for a price that doesn't cause you too much pause. Right. And that's something that I kind of make comments about on this show pretty much every week. Like, this cigar was $10. And this $10 for me was commensurate with the experience, right? Like once you get past, for me personally, when you get to the $12 mark and above, that's when I start to balk. Like I'm like, oh, do I really want to spend that? I do spend that much and more for cigars for the show, mainly because we're trying different ones and I just want to get an idea. But like a lot of times you'll see that at $18. I was like, oh my God, $18. And even a cigar that I really, really enjoy, Drew Estate makes a cigar called the T52 Bellicoso. And to me, it's a beautiful cigar. I love it. There was a time when I couldn't get enough of it. But now you buy that cigar and it's easily $18. And I'm like, oh, I just don't want to spend that kind of money. So look for something that matches a price point that you like. So if you're interested and you go to a cigar shop and, hopefully you find one that's quite reputable. I don't really know the different shops anymore. Maybe Brian goes there more than I do. He might have a good suggestion of a place to go in New York City. But try to find a place that's got knowledgeable people, and let them know. Like if you go to a good shop with knowledgeable people that really into cigars, you say, hey, I'd like to try a cigar for the very first time. Chances are you're going to go to a place, or you're going to find you'll be with people that are like, oh, okay, good. We're going to. They typically good tobacconists pride themselves on guiding a new person into the cigar world. So you can kind of tell them, well, you know, I'd like to stay under whatever amount of money you feel comfortable spending, and I'd like to experience it. And they'll typically make you a good recommendation. And there's so many brands out there, so many cigars to try. So they'll probably steer you towards something that's a little bit more mild, because you're new, right? What you don't want really is to get hit with like something that's got heavy power and strength and just get pummeled your first time out, because that's just not pleasurable. I mean, even myself, like after smoking for a long time, when Romacraft released their 2018, was it the Craft? Yeah, their Craft, which is a trumpet-shaped cigar. That cigar had so much power and force that really I was at Bud's house, we're smoking it, and I'm inhaling, I'm puffing on it, and I puff it and puff out, and I would puff it upwards so that I could duck down to avoid the smoke, because there's so much strength. Like I was just getting pummeled. It was like I was getting punched in the face constantly. So regardless of your experience, you can find cigars that are a little bit heavier for your taste, and you don't want to really have that on your first time out, because that tends not to be very, very pleasurable. And Tony says, and Tony works at a tobacco shop. He's a tobacconist as well. He says a lot of great cigars, the 8 to 12 range. And I think that's so true. Like my favorite cigar, like I mentioned earlier, is the Romacraft Revenge. And that you can get somewhere between $8 to $10, maybe $11, depending where you go, depending on the tobacco tax in your particular state. I think New York is pretty high. If that's a great, well, that I would not recommend that one, because that tends to be a little bit more force for someone to start out with. Maybe in their intemperance line, I might consider to recommend like the not the BA that I smoke, but the EC, the Ecuadorian Connecticut. That line might be a little bit better, and maybe something that's not so big. Maybe start out with a Corona size. That way you don't have so much cigar to smoke, and there's actually a better ratio of the wrapper to the filler. A lot of times at least with more experienced cigar smokers, they find that the thinner ring gauges, like the Lanceros or even the Coronas, have a better ratio of wrapper to filler, which gives, and a lot of the flavor of the cigar comes from the wrapper itself. So that just gives you a little bit better balance. Now, a lot of people will go for the larger cigars. Like they have ones that are 60 ring gauge, which is an inch thick. 6 inches long and 6 inches and an inch thick. And those, a lot of guys go for those or even bigger, because they get the more bang for the buck. But I think it's one of those things where you start to, when you get past like 58 ring gauge, I feel that you start to lose something. Like there's just too much filler at that point. And Brian says, I always suggest the Hemingway. Yeah, the Hemingways are great for smoke. Are they still a little bit hard to find? So Hemingway is a brand, is a line of cigars made by the Arturo Fuente company, and they're a Dominican Republic based company, very long-term venerable company, very well respected. They make very good. Actually, if you want a great cigar to start out with, maybe if you're at a shop and they have Arturo Fuente, and they have this kind of red and green band. There's one called the Rothschild. It's a shorter cigar, a little bit about the same, maybe a similar ring gauge to this, but shorter, maybe like 5 inches. I just smoked one of those for one of the episodes back in November, and I was surprised at how enjoyable it still is, even today, like even for myself. That might be a great place to start. And Tony recommends that it's good to have a meal. Yes, definitely have a meal. You definitely don't want to try your first cigar on an empty stomach, because even like you see me like using the napkin, because for quite a number of years ago, for whatever reason, my smoking started to generate saliva, so I need to get rid of it. Otherwise, I could swallow it if I wanted, but then that nicotine gets in the system, and then you get kind of ill. So do have a big meal. Like I remember one time we went out years ago. my friends and I went out for a big steak dinner. Like we had this massive steak dinner. This is back when I was still living in Honolulu. And one of our friends who worked at a tobacco shop, he was like, "Here," he brought cigars for us to try after. And we had a massive meal, like massive steak meal, like full, like, it's the kind of meal for cigar smokers that, okay, I have eaten very well, I have a full stomach, and I can take on any cigar. And so he brought out the Sancho Panza Corona Gigantes from Cuba. And they're like 9 inches or 7 inches, 9 inches long. Great smoke, like fantastic smoke. Like this was an awesome cigar. But man, I was so ill after that. I went home and I was like, it was terrible. It was terrible. Even Rusty says the A.F. Hemingway line is awesome. Yes, absolutely. Antonio says, or the Chateau Connecticut. Yeah, so there's the Chateaus, which is also the green line that was talking the Rothschild, but a little bit thicker ring gauge and almost the same length. And then you can get the Chateau or the double Chateau. The double Chateau is twice as long. That's a nice one. So yeah, definitely the Hemingway is the one to go with. And then, of course, Young Ma, if you send us your address and Brian will send you a cigar. There you go. That's a great idea. That's a great one there. Let me know your cigar. Drop me a message either. Or drop me a message in Instagram, and I'll forward that to Brian. That's a great. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. So smoking, actually, the acridity's kind of died down. I guess maybe that's because I took that time to blab on about other things, which allowed it to. But there's still that little bit of acridity. Yeah, man, absolutely. I don't know if you guys follow Star Trek much, but while Discovery is on hiatus, they've restarted the rest of the first season of Star Trek Prodigy, which is actually a Nickelodeon show. So it's a cartoon of Star Trek. And you'd think that it'd be kind of like, kind of corny, but it's actually I find it to be quite entertaining. Like I'm very much enjoying the experience of watching this Star Trek animation. And Rusty says, I'll contribute to Young Man. Oh, excellent. There you are. And nice thing about Young Man is that Rusty's in New Jersey, so he's very close to you. So actually, there might be an opportunity for you guys to get together and have a cigar one night. Maybe, because I think, if I remember correctly, Young Man, you live in New York City. Is that correct? They picked up the show Below Deck. Oh, excellent. Yeah, I do like the Below Decks too. I like all of these shows. I'm like, you read some of the reviews about some of the shows and they're all kind of like down on them. I don't really care about those things. I just enjoy the shows for what they are. Okay, yes, in New York. Yeah, you should definitely communicate a little more with Rusty. Rusty also knows Yasmina. I don't know if you met Yasmina, but she lives in New Jersey, but she's really more of a New York-based barista. And yeah, maybe you guys can get together and have a smoke somewhere around that area. And Di likes the Lower Decks as well. I don't know if you haven't seen Prodigy. I would suggest checking it out. I really enjoyed it. I think there's only a few more episodes left, and then once that's done, they'll go back to the second half of this season of Discovery, which I'm enjoying. I'm totally enjoying Discovery as well. And then Doctor Who's going to be back again, like in a month or two. They have like 2 more episodes left before Jodie Whittaker gives up the role and they switch to a new doctor. So that'll be interesting. What else have I been watching? I've been watching Navy SEALs. The last episode of Navy SEALs was pretty good. I enjoyed that. And Lupin season 2 has dropped. Oh, I haven't even seen Lupin season 1. I just remember Lupin as the main character from Cliffhanger, the arcade game many, many years ago. I love that game. Love that game, and I love the idea of it. But I did watch the Lupin the Third animated movie that they made back in the 80s. I remember I have that on VHS. I have the VHS somewhere. So we're getting really down to the end. Burns a little bit uneven, but definitely the acidity's there. Like here, here's the thing. So like, I would say that the true enjoyment of this cigar ended right about here, but I'm still down to here. So we're just kind of rolling along until the point that I can't smoke anymore. But we could give it a score. I would say I think the body has maintained relatively stable. So for the last third, I'm giving it a 7.5 because I did experience a downturn in the quality of the flavor. A little bit change in the body, but relatively the same. But I don't think that if I kept it the same, it would reflect truly the experience. And Rusty says, if you're also looking for something to watch, check out Alex, the French cooking guy. Oh, I have seen that guy. He's kind of funny. I enjoy his work. That's the one that made he's the one that made because I'm thinking of two different French guys, but Alex is the one that made his own wok, right? If that's the guy, the one with the curly kind of crazy hair, I like his work. You know who else I enjoy is in the food sphere on YouTube is Andong. There's a guy, Andong, Andong. He's this German guy based in Berlin, young guy. But I think he has really creative videos about food, really interesting. And then there's another guy, if you like Middle Eastern type food, there's a guy, Middle Eats. He's relatively new to YouTube. Like I think he only started in the last year, but he's gotten quite a following. And he's based in London, Lebanese guy and a young guy, and he makes all these different types of Middle Eastern foods, and I think it's really quite good. Like I've tried some of his recipes, and they're quite enjoyable. So Tony says, Eric, Buddy, and myself did not experience the acridity, so we gave the last third 8.3. So nice. Okay, good. Now, there's always a possibility that the acridity that I'm getting could be because I'm of the pace that I smoke at, right? Like that's a little bit falling off. It could be, I think that I tend to smoke a little bit on the faster side. So that could be part of it. I think that could be a part of it. Rusty says, yes, he made his own high power. Yes. Yes, I do need a new wok burner. Actually, at home, I have a turkey fryer, and I've got the bigger 14-inch woks at home, which I almost never use because I never really cook at home much anymore. But that works pretty well. The problem with the turkey fryer is because it's designed to hold, of course, a turkey fryer, like a big stock pot. It's flat, right? It's got the grating system is designed for flat bottom vessels, not the curved vessel. And so there's a lot of wobbling on those. I've always thought about modifying it. And I saw that video that Alex did where he modified the butane burner, but I've seen a few videos watching how they do that, and I just don't feel like it. I mean, like for most of the cooking that I'm doing here, the butane will suffice. Like if I'm frying French fries, that's where I really notice a lot of problem, is that I'm not getting enough recovery, right? So you take the fries, you put them in, and you really need them, especially when you're doing the second fry, you really need them to crisp. So you need that recovery time. So when I put the fries in, it'll drop to like from 375. Well, actually, I usually start at 415 because of that drop. And it drops like over 100 degrees down to 260. So it's really a massive drop that you really don't have that recovery. Like I miss using the 5-gallon deep fryer. I have one of those at home too. That's pretty an excellent experience to use. But for stir frying, those little butane burners, they work fairly decently. I was asking a friend of mine Sean, who's a Chinese guy in Singapore. I said to him, because I noticed, I don't know if you've seen this, there's another YouTube channel called Chinese Cooking Demystified, American guy and a Chinese wife. They make videos weekly. They're really, really good. Like they go in like pretty deep into like Chinese cooking. And I noticed their indoor burner, like they use a butane burner similar to mine for their outdoor cooking, but in their inside kitchen, they have these burners that look like they're designed for woks. And so I asked my friend in Singapore, I said, hey man, are your burners designed to power woks? He's like, oh yeah, man, they work really well. And I was like, oh dude, that would be amazing. Now I did see at the restaurant store, they were selling this single station wok burner, like that had the ring and a jet burner at the bottom. That's natural gas. And at one point they were $400. Now they're like $550. So and that's like 2 years ago, they were $400, and I always meant to buy one, and then now they're $550. So I'm like, I mean, I do have $250 in credit at the restaurant store. So I keep thinking in my mind, I'm going to go buy that one day and then rig it for propane. But that's just really the psychosis. So I'm trying not to do that. Like the last time I was at the restaurant store, they were like, do you want to use your credit? I was like, no, I'll just pay for this, what I'm buying today. Don't use the credit. So yeah, it's nice. Okay, so let's get into it. The burn, it's burned very well. The draw has been very good. I guess we'll have to say excellent. So I'll say 8.5 for burn and draw. It's been consistent. So I'd say, I really want to say very good. 7.75. Overall, I'm going to say 8. So here's the scoring that I have for the whole cigar now. We've got 7.5 for the cold fragrance draw, 8.25 for the flavor, and 8.5 for the body in the first third, 8.825 for the second third, 7.58 for the last third. Then overall burn draw 8.5, consistency 7.75, and then overall 8. Now let us calculate. So there it is. We have our score. Now, at the beginning of the show, let me scroll up here and see. Ooh, we got a lot of comments tonight. Okay, so Buddy said we had a predicting of a rating of 90 to 91. So I'm interested to know, you guys, what do you think about, what did you score, or what score are you giving for your cigar experience tonight? And I will share with you guys after that my personal thoughts on that. All right, so let's look at our scoring here. So we've got good, very good, excellent, outstanding, extraordinary. All right, so you're saying, so based on our scoring system, consensus, so Tony says consensus is 91. Cool. So you're saying that this is an outstanding, you would describe this outstanding. I'm a little bit different. My score ended up being, of all of these, 80.25. Which, you know, it may seem, especially compared to the 91, it seems pretty low. But I would say that it's an excellent rating cigar. I personally don't think that I would say this is an outstanding cigar. I think it's very, very good. I'm saying it's very, very good. So, but really, excellent would be a good way to. I would say it would be excellent, right at the edge of that. Agree, disagree? Let me know what you think. I'm interested to know, like, maybe we need to, as we go along with working this out, we'll see about maybe like adjusting. But he says, we did not factor in advertising. You're right. I did not. So, Oliva, if you'd like to advertise and sponsor the show, 94. We're going to use the cigar aficionado method of rating cigars here. Dave says you had hard luck with. yeah, but I think that I think I definitely had some issues with it, but I think that the first 2/3 were very, very good. I would say excellent. But you know, that's what I'm saying when we're talking about, like, prior to all of this, like over the past year, I've always talked about how what Half Wheel and Cigar Coop and all the rest, their scoring versus what they write, to me doesn't really correlate. And that's what I'm interested in doing here, is trying to find correlation between the way we describe something and the way we score something, right? So if we're talking about things being very good, excellent, outstanding, then that's why I'm trying to find that correlation then, right? So if you sit around and you smoke a cigar and you're like let's say you try not to think about scores per se, and as you're just smoking the cigar and you think about, how would I describe that? Would I describe that this body or this flavor is very good, or better than very good, or like really, really better than very good? That's kind of what I'm trying to drive towards. And so Youngman's asking, do you ever do a blind test? Yeah, I mean, on the show, no, because I mean, I'm the one that sources the cigars, so I know what I'm buying, but I do try not to have too much bias about the cigar either way. And which is a big reason why I don't really feature Roma Craft cigars in the show, because I have a personal relationship with the owners and I tend to favor their cigars in my own personal smoking time. Which is why I said that earlier on the show that I was going to include the Revenge later in the year as one of the reviewed cigars, only because as we work out this cigar grading, I want to put that in the lineup to see how it's going to do. You know, like, if I was smoking it separately, would I describe it? Would it reach that outstanding level? And also another thing is that while it's not really a blind tasting, you know, I try not to have too much bias. Like, for example, I mentioned earlier that there's a brand of cigars that I tend not to favor. One of them is Gurkha. The other is a brand called Rocky Patel. I've had a lot of inconsistent experiences with Rocky Patel, enough to be like, you know, that I'm like prejudicial about it. And last year in 2020, in November, October, we had an episode where we reviewed the Rocky Patel Mareva, which is the cigar that they use for the World Championship of Cigars. And what that's about is that you get a small cigar, smaller than a Corona-shaped cigar, about the same ring gauge, but shorter. And the idea is that you're with the World Championship of Cigars is that and I'm going to put this down now because it's pretty much done, is you're going to take that cigar and you're going to see how long you can smoke it. And the champion is determined by who can smoke this small cigar the longest without it going out, without relighting. And the last world champion smoked it in over 4 hours. And so I smoked that cigar for one of the episodes. And I came away with it was a really fantastic smoke. It was awesome until halfway. And then right about halfway, what did it? It had a plug or something, and it just totally nosedived. But prior to that point, it was excellent. And so I think that even though we're not really doing the blind tasting per se, I think that, I try to, because I do judging for coffee, that I'm able to maintain some level of, I'm able to separate my bias from what we're smoking. Typically. Brian saying, should I drop off a cigar without label for a true blind taste test? Sure. You could tell everybody else what we're smoking and let them know. And then we could do that. That would be kind of interesting to do. I like that idea. Just any show, that would be a good thing too. And then Buddy says, Cigars International had a tasting room, so you didn't know what you're getting. They used to get, I saw that at the one up in Hamburg. That is a cool facility. I don't know how much it's changed over the last couple of years since I've been there, but then Tony says, even a blind squirrel can find enough. No doubt. All right, it's now 10:30, so we should probably wrap things up. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing else for me to blab on about. So we'll just end it there. All right, so there it is. Another Thursday. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate you guys all hanging out and talking cigars and coffee and all of this. Young Monk, come join us next week. We'd love to have you. Maybe grab a cigar. So actually, there's a cigar listing down in the show notes below in the description. You can look and see what we're going to be smoking over the next couple weeks. And if you want, maybe stop by a local tobacconist and grab one of those cigars, or you can call Raul at Tobacco Leaf. His phone number should be listed, or his link is listed there. You can call him up and say, hey, I want to get the cigar. Next week on January 27th, we're smoking the Plasencia Cosecha number 149. And then February 3rd, we're doing the Crown Heads Le Patissier. That should be quite an interesting cigar. And then February 10th, we're doing the Just Zum Kral the FTDA. And after that, the Dapper La Madrina Toro. So we've only got 4 more weeks listed. I better find some more for the upcoming shows. But thanks very much for tuning in. And see you next time.